If you want to date better or find a relationship that genuinely supports you with a partner who sees your value and also brings value to the table themselves, then you got to come from a place of self-respect. Because without self-respect, you will never be able to attract someone that brings value to the table and that is able to create a supportive and healthy relationship. You will never be truly known, seen, or loved by someone until you come from the space of self-respect, because honestly, it really does change the game. The truth is, when you do not come from a place of self-respect, you attract people who will not respect you. And so today we are going to be talking about coming from a place of self-respect in dating, because I really want you to figure out how you can date well and date better in your life. Hello and welcome back to another episode of To Be Known. If you're new here, my name is Makayla Morman and I'm your go-to girl when it comes to anything personal development related in your 20s. I'm quite literally obsessed with this stuff. If you're older, if you're younger, I do not care. I am just happy that you are here, because today is the first episode of my Dating Well series that I am going to be hosting here on the podcast every single month. And I really want to talk about this concept of self-respect in dating, because without this, you will never be able to create a foundation in a relationship that is sustainable. Because if you do not come from a place of self-respect in love, everything that you build on top of that base within yourself is going to be very shakeable. You are not going to attract the right people when you do not come from a place of self-respect. It's just the truth of the matter. I know this from personal experience. I know this from the experience of my friends and listening to other podcasts. It seems to be a universal truth that if you do not come from a place of self-respect, where you are so sure of yourself, where you know what your standards are, where you know what your values are, nothing can be created that is of value, and you will not attract the right people until that happens. Self-respect is huge in life and in love. I know I started off today's episode a little strong when it comes to how vital it is for you to have self-respect before you go out into the world and start trying to date, but it's because of my own experience. When I was in my younger 20s and my teen years, I look back at those years and I see how little self-respect I really did have at those ages, and I just was not attracting the right people because of that broken foundation that I was showing up as. And I think I would have been able to attract better partners back then if I did come from a place of self-respect, because once I switched into that mode where I was more sure of myself, I had more respect for myself, I knew my values, and I knew my standards when it did come to love, I found a partner who was able to meet me where I was. And honestly, if not, he was a little bit better when it came to his own self-respect, and it really attracted me to him. And that is why I say, when you come from a place of self-respect, you will attract the right person for you. And they will also see that within you as well. It just changes the playing field for you, and it makes you feel so much stronger and secure when you do go out and date. It's just a feedback cycle at the end of the day. All of this stuff is just a feedback cycle. When you show up as a person who does respect yourself, you're able to show up and respect others better, and they are able to respect you better. And we are going to get into all of this today. So what do I mean exactly by self-respect? Well, let me tell you, because self-respect is when you see the value within yourself, where you live by a set of standards, where you have a sense of pride and a sense of joy and a sense of confidence about who you are, because you know that you show up for yourself. You know that you care for yourself day in and day out. It is all a feedback cycle, as I said, because when you come from a place of self-respect, inherently you are able to respect the other people in your life, and they are also able to see this practice, this feeling, this confidence, this sureness, this just self-respect within you, and it makes other people respect you more as well. You know that you want to find a partner who is able to show up and see the value that you possess, who shows the value that they also are able to bring to the table, and that you are able to respect them, that you see the value that they bring as well. It's all about a mutual understanding, a mutual respect, and a mutual vision of values. that is how you are going to be able to find a love, a relationship, a partnership, a whatever it is that you want that actually brings value into your life. What you attract is a reflection of who you are, not a mystery. When you look at your matches on Hinge or the people who you have dated in the past, or maybe you are currently talking to, they are a reflection of you. You should not be surprised by the people who you do date, because if you are someone who plays games with people, you are going to attract someone who also plays games themselves. If you are someone who is a little bit more anxiously attached, chances are you are going to attract a partner who's either anxious themselves or avoidant, just because of the nature of the game that is love. When you present yourself in dating, when you are out there in the world, what you attract is a reflection of you. And I just want to make that very, very clear, because when you come from a place of self-respect, that is going to reflect back to you. But when you don't come from this security within yourself, you are going to attract people who sense that within you, who maybe themselves don't have a true sense of self-respect, who maybe themselves don't have a sense of high value or standards, because that is unfortunately probably the place where you are coming from. And it is really hard to take a look within and see that the people who we attract in our lives are a reflection of ourselves. And it is not a mystery, even though it seems like it is, even though we might be confused by it. So when you come from a place of self-respect, your bandwidth for, bullshit, if I'm going to be honest, is a lot lower. You do not have a threshold to attract people, to even entertain people who aren't able to meet you where you are at. Therefore, you are not falling in love with people's potential, and people are not falling in love with your potential, because there is nothing worse than falling in love with someone's potential or someone else falling in love with your potential, because that means that you are not able to see who the other person is directly in that moment. However, when you come from a place of self-respect, it means that you have a love and care for yourself that you show up in the world as having, and this attracts a partner who is able to see that love and care that you have within yourself, who loves you for that, who sees that within you, and who also has that themselves. So with that being said, do not waste your time entertaining people who do not see the value within you, because that means that inherently you need to see the value within yourself, because people meet you where you are at the end of the day. When you come from a place of self-respect in dating and you have this sense of emotional maturity within yourself, you see that emotional maturity is the first sign of a high value partner. You are able to recognize this within another person and see how valuable it is to find that within someone. Emotional maturity is the number one factor, in my opinion, of having a healthy relationship. Because at the end of the day, all that a relationship is basically handling your own emotions, handling another person's emotions, and being able to communicate about it and have respect for one another and your own lives and your own feelings and your own perspectives. A relationship is based on emotions and communication and respect at the end of the day, in my opinion. When you see a partner who brings value to the table, who has a sense of emotional maturity, who is very sure of themselves, that is how you know that you're going to have a partner that is going to add value into your life. And if you don't have a good sense of your emotions or communication or just a sureness within yourself, let this be a signal for you to explore that more within yourself, because these are just skills at the end of the day. Being able to be emotionally mature, that is a skill. Communication is a skill. Having confidence is a skill. This is not something that you just have or don't have. Everything in life is a skill that you learn how to handle every single day. And that is why relationships are so important and such a reflection of ourselves, because it is like the baseline, the number one way that we really see ourselves in action when it does come to these things. People who are of high value, those are the people who avoid the chaos. Those are the people who avoid the drama and playing games in life and in love, because realistically, who has the time for that? If you are playing games, it means that you do not have respect for other people, and inherently you don't really have respect for yourself, because you don't like how someone is communicating with you. let that be a sign to not communicate with them anymore. You don't have to play a game with them in order to get them to do something, in order to show them your affection, or in order for them to show you affection that you are wanting, whatever it is. Games are not worth your time, and they are not a sign of having true self-respect or having respect for another person. In my opinion, that might be a controversial take. However, I don't have time for games. Beyond playing games, like I just mentioned, there are other signs and ways that not having self-respect shows up in our lives. Not having self-respect can look like being easy to step on. Let's say that someone bumps into you or is in your way and you apologize for them bumping into you. That is a sign that maybe you don't have self-respect for yourself. I did this for years. You do not need to do this. And it signals to other people that you actually don't have respect for your body or the space that you take up. And it honestly kind of puts a target on your back, because when people see that you apologize often, that you apologize for the space that you do take up, it is going to signal to people who might want to take advantage of you that they can. It is going to signal to people that you are weaker than some other people who might be stronger minded. And they see that as an opportunity to take advantage of you, to have power over you. And that is something that I feel like is such a telltale sign that you are lacking self-respect, because you don't respect the space that you take up and apologize for it. That is so big. And it's something that I really had to learn in my life, to not apologize all the time, to not apologize for the space that I do take up. And I know why I'm that way. It's not because it's from a place of good. It's often because, something happened or something in your past has told you that you have to apologize for the space that you take up. However, you do not. And it is such a huge sign that you lack self-respect when you do that. And I want you to recognize that maybe, hey, this is time where I stop apologizing for the space that I take up. I could probably do an entire episode talking about over apologizing and the effect that this does have on our lives and our self-concept and how people view us. However, that is not the topic of today's episode, but it is a very important point that I wanted to share with you today. So let's move on to some of the other signs that you might be lacking self-respect in your life. And it's okay if you're coming from this place. We are just sort of naming it and seeing how it does show up in your life right now. Having a permeable self-concept is a sign that you lack self-respect. If you let other people's voices, other people's opinions, other people's comments about who you are, how you look, what you do, whatever it is, to infiltrate how you view yourself, how you view your value in the world, this is a sign that you are lacking self-respect. And it's okay that you are this way. However, we need to build up your walls. We need to make sure that you are secure within yourself, that you have that strong foundation, so that what other people say or how other people view you or whatever it is does not infiltrate who you are and how you view yourself. That is being permeable. If you are someone where it is really easy to change your mind about something, this can also be a sign that you lack self-respect. And I mean this in the most polite way. It is a beautiful thing to be an open-minded person. I myself am a very open-minded person. However, I have seen that when I allow people to change my mind a lot from what I once thought was true, it kind of reflects that you don't have self-respect for what your values are, for what your thoughts are, for what your beliefs are. When you do this too much, it is a sign that you might lack respect for yourself, for your self-concept and who you are, and you let other people infiltrate your thoughts and your opinions and your behaviors. A huge sign that you might lack self-respect is an inability to truly take care of yourself. If you need to co-regulate your emotions with another person, if you are not able to take a shower or to just take care of the bare necessities of yourself and how you are able to operate as a person without someone else being there, or, just going to your phone and numbing yourself out, that might be a sign that you might lack self-respect as well. There are obviously mental health issues that go along with this ability to take care of yourself that are separate from self-respect. However, I do think that both of those things are pretty interconnected at the end of the day. A lack of self-respect can also show up in your life as over-explaining yourself. If you feel like you have to explain yourself all the time to people, chances are you really don't have to be honest. Like, you could just be very blunt, very plain about saying no, about saying yes, whatever it is, and people will be okay with that. You don't have to over explain yourself. However, when you have this need, this drive to explain every mere morsel of your thoughts and your decisions and your behaviors and why you did something, chances are you might be coming from a place of a lack of self-respect. And I know this based off of my own personal experience. This is a lesson that I had to learn in my life, that I did not need to over-explain myself, because honestly, it just kind of hindered my own self-concept and how other people viewed me at the end of the day. Because when you feel like you have to explain yourself to people, it means that you aren't having a sureness within yourself, that you don't respect yourself, your opinions, your behaviors, or whatever. And it signals to the other people in your life that you don't respect yourself in that way, and maybe that they shouldn't respect you in that way either. You don't need to over-explain yourself to strangers, people who you just met, people who you don't really have a true relationship connection to. You do not need to over-explain yourself to people, especially when you are dating people. Don't feel like you have to over-explain yourself, because I feel like that is something that is really easy to do early on in dating, is over-explain yourself, over-explain your life, over-explain all of these things. And what that signals to people when you are dating is that you might lack self-respect. You might be a permeable person where you want validation of whatever it is that you are feeling or saying or whatever to other people. It just signals that you might not have a high level of respect for yourself. A lack of self-respect can also look like accepting last-minute plans, letting your boundaries slide, changing your opinions to keep the peace in conversation, staying in a relationship or whatever it is if the effort isn't matched, apologizing to people when you are not wrong, which is, kind of connected, and not doing what you said that you were going to do. All of these ways, all of these things all show up as a lack of respect in your life. With all of those things in mind, when you have inconsistent self-respect, you will attract inconsistent partners. You are going to attract people who do not see your value and who do not bring value to the table themselves. You most likely are going to attract the people who lack self-respect and probably are going to lack respecting you. Because the truth is, respect recognizes respect. Now that we've gotten through the heaviness of what a lack of respect can look like in our lives and how it does affect our dating, let's look at self-respect. Let's look at what actually changes, what actually happens in our lives when we come from a place of self-respect in dating, because this is how you are going to date well. This is how you are going to attract a partner who actually sees you and values you for who you are. And in turn, you are able to see them and value them for who they are as well, and be able to create a beautiful, loving, lasting relationship in your life. Because remember, self-respect is the base of dating well. So what actually changes when you have self-respect in dating? Well, you stop auditioning for love. And that is huge. When you come from a place of self-respect, you know the value that you bring to the table. You do not have to convince someone to choose you. You do not have to convince someone to love you, because you yourself love yourself enough to know that the right person is going to love you. You stop auditioning. You stop trying to show off how cool or hot or funny or witty or smart you are. You stop auditioning for love. Self-respect in love and dating means that you come from a different place. It means that you observe people rather than chase after them. It means that you see people for who they are, you see their actions, you hear the things that they say, and you take it all as data of who is this person actually. Instead of chasing after them and ignoring all of the red flags, you observe people and what they say and what value they are able to bring to the table. You see them for who they truly are instead of the potential of whatever love you might want to have with them. You stop chasing and you start observing. You ask different questions when you have self-respect. When it comes to dating, you ask, if this person is actually aligned with you, with where you are at now and your future. You try to see if who they are and what they say and what they do is aligned with the type of partner that you want to have right now and for the rest of your life. Because the person that you end up being with, the person that you date, the person that you marry is the most important person in your life other than yourself. They need to be your equal in every single way. Yes, sometimes people lack one thing and the other person is very strong in that aspect of life. However, they need to be your equal at the end of the day. And that is what someone who comes from a place of self-respect is able to understand. They look at the people who they are dating and they ask the question of, is this person actually aligned with me? Is this relationship aligned with what I want, my needs, my hopes, my desires for my future and my present life? People who come from a place of self-respect and love know that they do not have to convince someone to love them. It's just the truth. You know that you do not have to convince anyone to choose you when you come from a place of self-respect. That is the number one sign that you are chasing, that you are coming from a place of a lack of self-respect in love, is feeling like you have to convince the person that you are attracted to choose you, to like you. That means that you should run away from that person and you should choose to look within and see the value that you have within yourself, because the moment that you let someone have that power over you of feeling like you have to convince someone to love you, to choose you, to chase after them, that means that you are giving all of this person your power, when in reality, you need to hold that power yourself. You need to have the respect for yourself that you are not going to put up with chasing someone, that you are not going to put up with having to convince someone to choose you. You should be so strong within yourself that you know the value that you bring and that you will not wait for someone to choose you. Dating from a place of self-respect allows you to walk away earlier because you see the signs of what you are going to put up with versus what you are not going to put up with. You have your standards, you have your values, you see the red flags, you learn to walk away, because dating isn't about proving yourself to another person. It's about filtering and seeing what you want and finding someone that fits your standards, that meets your expectations, that sees you for who you are, who is able to bring value to the table and sees the value that you have as well. By this point in the episode, you have a solid understanding why self-respect is the baseline for being able to date well. Because at the end of the day, all I want for you is to have a sureness within yourself so that you can go out into the world and attract a partner who sees your value, who brings value themselves, and you guys are able to create a long-lasting love. Because every single person on this earth deserves to be seen, to be known, to be loved, to be just cherished by another person, because our partner that we choose to be with for the rest of our lives is the most important choice that we can make. It is the foundation for our happiness, for what our family will look like in the future, for what our lives will be like for the rest of our days. It's very important that you show up as the best version of yourself when you are dating, so that you can attract someone who recognizes that, who cherishes that, and who also shows up as the best version of them as well. So with all that being said, let me get into some of the ways where you can build some more self-respect in your life. If you are lacking self-respect right now, that is okay. I have been there. I promise you, I have been there. And I am coming to you today with a sureness and with a handle on my self-respect that I do have. And I am giving you the tools today so that you can have some more of it in your life yourself. Let's talk about standards, because standards are a two-way street. You cannot look for a set of values or standards within another person if you yourself do not have those values, if you yourself do not present those standards in your own life. So choose 3 non-negotiable standards that you possess within yourself that are also vital for you to choose within another partner. This can look like empathy. This can look like loyalty or honesty or emotional maturity, or I don't know, maybe creativity is a value, a standard that you have in your life that you want to see within another person. What are your 3 words going to be? What are your 3 standards going to be that when people people look at you, they see that you live by those standards and that you live by those values, because you are going to attract a partner who also has those values and those standards within them. And you're going to be more likely to see those values, or when people don't have those values. When you are wanting to build more self-respect in your life, you have to start by only giving your time, only giving your attention to things that genuinely lift you up, to people who match you, to people who meet you where you are at. When you only give your time and energy to people who beat you where you're at, the point of this is to not overgive or to play games, because the second that you start overgiving or playing games with people is the moment that a lack of respect kind of shows itself in the picture for yourself and for this other person. Having more self-respect in your life also looks like you stopping apologizing reflexively. I know. It could be tough. Trust me, I've been there and I've done that. However, when you over apologize, when you overgive, when you tell people that you're sorry for absolutely every little single thing that you do, I know I've already talked about it. It puts you in a lesser than position. It is a tough pill to swallow to understand that when you apologize all of the time, it weakens your apology and it also makes you appear weak and lesser than. I had to learn it the hard way, and I want to tell you this. Only apologize when you truly made a mistake, and only apologize when you truly mean it. People respect you more when you apologize less, and people respect you less when you apologize more. When you do it too much, it puts the power outside of yourself, where you are giving people the power to have a sort of dominance over you when you are overly apologizing. So when you are dating and you are out there in the world, do not over apologize. Do not give so much of yourself by apologizing so much, because people will take advantage of that. People will see that you might not have the best sense of self, that you might not be coming from a place of self-respect. And unfortunately, it does make you more likely to be disrespected by other people if you are apologizing all of the time. Another way to have more self-respect in your life is by showing up for yourself consistently and taking care of yourself consistently. This means like taking showers. This means like going on walks. This means like your routine that makes you feel like a whole human every single day is your bread and butter. It is the way that you show up for yourself consistently. When you care for yourself in this way, it shows up as having more autonomy in your life. It shows up as having more self-respect. It shows up as you caring for yourself because you love yourself, because you cherish yourself, and you want to care for your mind, your body, and your soul. This helps you with your self-concept and helps you grow more respect for yourself, because you see all of the effort that you put in to maintaining yourself and maintaining your happiness and maintaining your physical, mental, spiritual, emotional being. Think about how much you respect people who take very good care of themselves, and think about how people are going to respect you because of the care that you put into yourself. I mean, it is a very attractive quality in a person when you see how much care they put into themselves and their lives and just how they show up in the world. It is very, very attractive. Another way to have more self-respect in your life is to say no without justification. If you don't like someone, you don't need to tell them why. You don't need to soften the blow. You just need to be honest and to let them know and to move on. You don't need to over-explain yourself. You don't need to justify yourself. All you need to do is let another person know that you don't want to move forward. And when you start to do this, watch how this raises the bar for the people who you actually attract in your life. Because the more that you learn to say no without justification, the more self-assurance you have within yourself, the more self-respect you have, and the more that other people are going to respect you, because you know what you want and you know what you don't want. What is at the heart of dating from a place of self-respect is this concept of dating slower and observing people's behavior and not their words. In my opinion, I think that you should only date one person at a time. Dating apps and people nowadays, in my opinion, have it all wrong. I do not think that you should be dating a ton of people at once, because what this does in our minds is it makes us not take anyone seriously. Maybe at max, you should be dating 2 people at a time if you are like in the very early stages of dating and just talking and getting to know people, not in a committed relationship, but like getting to know people, keeping your options a little bit open, but also allowing yourself to really focus in on 2 people. And also dating slower. I do not believe that you should only have like one date with a person and completely write them off. I feel like people really show you who they are over time. And so yes, maybe you go on a first date and it is absolutely horrible and you do not want to see them again. However, if you do go on a date and you have an inkling feeling that this person is good, but you just don't quite know yet, and you're wondering about going on a second date, go on a second date with them. Give them a month of your time, because really people show you who they are over time when you are able to see who they are through their actions and not through their words. When you date slower, when you give people time to show you who they are, this is how true love, I think, is really formed, because a bright flame fizzles out fast. Think about all of the situationships, relationships, whatever, or things that you've even heard of where you see 2 people who go in hot, heavy right at first, only to fizzle out like 2 to 3 to 6 months later in a bright, big flame that was absolutely horrible. That is how a lot of very passionate starting relationships start and end. However, when you slow burn it, when you date slower, when you allow people to show you who they are over time, this is where true companionship and you actually having a better grip and understanding on who you are getting involved with really comes from. And I think when you come from a place of self-respect, you know that you need to really see another person, that you need to get to know who they are, that you need to see the value that they bring to the table, and that you are sure that they see the value within you as well. And that really only happens over time. You can figure out a lot about a person over the course of a month, in my opinion. You see what they actually value because you understand what it is that they spend their time doing. Because what a person does on the daily, on the weekly, on the monthly with their time shows you what they value. If a person that you are dating over the course of the month barely wants to see you, that means that they are not valuing having time with you. And that means that they are not worth your time. You can see how a person really feels about you by how often they reach out to you and the questions that they are asking, the conversations that you are having. And that really only happens over time, because I feel like sometimes we can enter a relationship with someone where things really flow amazing straight off the bat and you have that instant connection. And that is very rare. However, sometimes you just need to have a slow burn with people and really get to know people and who they are, especially if they're a little bit more guarded. When you come from a place of self-respect in dating, you see that people present who they actually are by what they do and not just like what they say. And in my opinion, also regarding the apps, if you are communicating with someone, you really need to go on a date with them within like the first 3 to 5 days of messaging. You should not be asking a bunch of questions about said person before you even go on the first date, so that you don't have like this idolized version of themselves, this idealized version rather of them in your mind. You just need to go out, go on a date, observe, and understand who they are through their actions and not just through their words that they're able to tell you on a screen, because people can paint a really pretty picture of themselves on a dating profile or through the ways that they text you. I think that the best way to meet a person is face to face, because you're able to watch how a person is and see how they interact with other people and their demeanor that they have. When you step into having self-respect in dating and in life and in love, you see that your time is valuable and that you should not be wasting it on people who are not worth your time. With all of this being said, I just hope that you understand how important it is for you to come from a place of self-respect when it comes to your life and love, because it really is the basis for you to be able to find a healthy, lasting love. I want you to find a partner who sees the value within you, who brings value to the table, and who you are able to see the value within them as well. Because remember, everything, all of the people that we attract are a reflection of us. It is not a mystery. So when you come from a place of self-respect, you are going to respect people more. People are going to respect you more, because it's all a feedback cycle. It's all a loop. It's all a reflection. I really believe in this stuff, because younger me, when I was in my earlier 20s and being a teen, like I really struggled with my self-respect and I was not attracting the right people into my life. And I don't want you to do that anymore. And a part of you doesn't want that either, because that's why you listened all the way through this episode to this point. And I hope that you enjoyed it today. If you liked today's episode, please give this video a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. Click subscribe, click follow if you are on Spotify, and leave this podcast a 5-star review on there as well. It means more to me than you will ever know. And if you really liked today's episode, please comment down below like your main takeaway or something that I said that made you realize something about yourself. If you want to follow along the To Be Known journey even more, please follow at To Be Known Pod on TikTok and Instagram. The links will all be in the show notes down below. And with all that being said, stay true to you. Bye.